Hi, gang. This is Boomer with Occupy Democrats. As if the FBI and Department of Justice and law enforcement agencies from coast to coast don't have enough on their hands to try to quell violence surrounding the upcoming elections, along comes this MAGA senator stoking the flames and preparing his troops for all-out revolt. Yes, a senator by the name of Markwayne Mullin, a MAGA Republican from Oklahoma, got into the weeds yesterday with CNN's Pamela Brown, and the results were not pretty. Brown is an expert in the white supremacist movement, and she darn well knows one when she meets one. Mullin grew up in the family's plumbing business and hails from the same state and state of mind that produced a character who heads up the public school division and who recently decided every student in Oklahoma would get a Bible and that the Bibles would be purchased from Donald Trump.
Not every district is on board with putting a religious text in public schools, but State Superintendent Ryan Walters is doubling down.
A request that we're going to be making in this budget, and it will be a request for $3 million to provide Bibles to the Oklahoma classrooms.
The Bible is a necessary historical document to teach our kids about the history of this country, to have a complete understanding of Western civilization, to have an understanding of the basis of our legal system, and is frankly, when we're talking about the Bible, one of the most foundational documents used for the Constitution and the birth of our country.
Hell, man, are you mad? Anyway, Mullin tried to steal your vote and substitute his in 2020 when he decided to overturn the will of the American voters and refused to certify Joe Biden's victory. This Okie, not from Muskogee, also conveniently supports banning abortion under any circumstances, and he challenged Teamster Union President Sean O'Brien to a fistfight on the floor of the Senate. Although he has some Native American roots, his background reminds many more of having a sinister variety, whether that's American MAGA or, frankly, Nazi Germany. And so we come to Mullin's three-rounder with Pamela Brown last night. America's law enforcement agencies will be on heightened alert for many weeks to come, and the world will be on the edge of its seat, waiting to see if America can still do what it helped teach the world to do. Free and fair elections, peaceful transfer of power, democracy preserved. And along comes this little man, this moron from a church state, boosting the chances of violence in the upcoming election.
It certifies the election results. So they have their own processes in place.
If the elections are certified underneath the standards that they put forth, every state has the right to set their, well, because every state sets their own state election laws, right? But the federal government sets the irregularities as to how far those can go. So is it going to be less than 1%? Is it less than 0.5%? Whatever those irregularities are, we'll take that case at a time. I will say this, Pam. At this point, it doesn't matter if the Republicans win or if the Democrats win. Both parties are probably going to cry foul. You got to remember in 2016 when President Trump won, the Democrats were saying that the election was stolen.
But that's
and
a false equivalence.
But no, it's not. Well, it's still the same thing. If people are going to claim that the election is stolen, it doesn't make any difference. You're telling me in 2015, Pam, that Democrats didn't say that the election was rigged? They did. They absolutely did.
That is an absolute false equivalence, and I just will not accept it on this show.
It's not equivalence. Did they say it or did they not? Because you had the Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, who wasn't the Speaker then, openly said that the election was not fair. She said the democracy is at place. You had Maxine Waters stand up there and say, we got to fight against this corrupt system that stole the election from us. Those were Democrats that said that.
Listen, what happened in 2020 was you had a sitting president in office who lost the election, who said it was rigged, it was stolen, and members of Congress voting against the certification that the states had already certified and taken it to the Supreme Court, trying to overturn the will of millions of voters.
If you want to talk about how many people had voted not to certify, let's talk about the Democrats that didn't vote to certify the election when Bush won.
It's one
we can go way back in history. We can talk about members who didn't
another
vote
to organize,
to certify.
and then you saw January 6th.
No,
so what I hear from you, from the question I asked you, is you are not willing to accept the results of this next election, even if every state certifies,
unless you do. I said I'm going to look at it. I'll take it by case. Absolutely, I'll look at it. I have no issues with looking at it. I'm going to look at this, but I'm not going to sit here and tell you what I'm going to do and not going to do until I see the results. And it's not based on who wins it. It's based on the results of the irregularities. I'm there to make sure the election is held and is held within our constitutional boundaries. I will uphold the Constitution. I swore to do that. It doesn't make any difference who wins it. Obviously, I'd love President Trump to win, but if the election is fair and it's handled in the right way, and I got to vote to certify it, I'll vote to certify it at that point.
I think the problem is the election was free and fair in 2020, and yet
was it during when Bush
members
won?
of Congress
when
voted
Bush
to
won and
decertify.
and when Bush won and had this hanging Chad, was it fair at that time? Because there was Democrats that voted not to certify the election back then.
Okay, we've talked about the difference, but Republican Senator Markwayne Mullin, I really appreciate you coming on and making your case here.
Son, you should be ashamed of yourself. You should be expelled. You should be flushed down the toilet. America needs you throwing your 2 cents around like it needs a hole in the head. We need decency, honesty, and justice, not some creepy hothead who worships the orange head. This is Boomer, and this Boomer hits different with Occupy Democrats.